Shocking truths about Jesus revealed, what they found in the Bible that challenges Islam. Few knew what truly happened that night in the garden. The air was thick, heavy with tension and the scent of blooming olive trees. Shadows danced as flickering torches lit the path where a man knelt in anguish. This wasn't just any night. This was the moment that altered humanity's course, and the secrets hiding within the silence demanded to be uncovered. Jesus, the pivotal figure cloaked in mystery, grappled with something profound. The moon hung in a darkened sky, illuminating his face, which twisted with pain and uncertainty. Sweat mixed with tears as he prayed, desperately seeking solace from a God he felt was hidden in the shadows. Why did it feel like he was battling more than just the impending crucifixion? Was there an unseen force, lurking in the corners of his mind? In the ancient city of Jerusalem, tensions ran high. The air crackled with whispers of revolt, of hope mingled with despair. Followers secretly gathered, desperate to understand the conflict shredding their hearts, while the temple loomed overhead, a reminder of their past and a symbol of what could be lost. The stakes were monumental, and every soul sensed there was something larger at play, an echo of history woven into this present moment. Was it just a simple prayer, or was there more? A deep sigh escaped his lips, almost a gasp, not just for himself but for all he loved. Dilemmas unfolded like petals in bloom. Friends turning to enemies, the weight of faith pressing heavily on his chest. The true meaning of sacrifice began to unfurl, a bitter truth shrouded in beauty and pain. How could he ensure the world would remember his message? Would it be worth the cost of his own life? Moments stretched endlessly as he wrestled with thoughts of betrayal. Judas, his closest companion, approached with a kiss. In a blink, a pact of blood, the price of a soul. Eyes widened in horror as men descended like a storm, fists clenched, weapons drawn. What would happen next? Did he plan for this? Was it a fate predestined or a choice made in defiance of despair? He looked up, his heart racing, the very heavens holding their breath. Did anyone truly understand the depth of his sacrifice? A single tear slipped down his cheek, carrying with it centuries of hope and fear. The crowd gasped, as one soul began to blur against the harsh reality of betrayal and sacrifice. Questions lingered in the air, heavy and unresolved. What kind of love led someone to such despair? What awaited him beyond the shadows? What truths would emerge from the darkness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night deepened, and the world around the garden fell silent, ominously so. Each breath taken felt as though it reverberated through time, giving voice to unspoken fears and haunting questions. The disciples, once fervent with hope, now huddled in shadow, unaware of the battle raging just beyond their understanding. They were not prepared for what awaited them, a series of events that would shake their faith to its core. As Judas stepped forward, the brigands surrounding him appeared almost spectral in the dim light, men whose eyes mirrored ambition and cruelty. And yet, among them, looks of confusion flickered. They had come with swords, but their hearts were not armored against the truth that was about to unfold. Jesus, sensing their uncertainty, felt an unexpected surge of compassion. Was their animosity born from misunderstanding rather than malice? What if the very men who sought to capture him were simply vessels of a larger story? For a fleeting moment, he saw beyond the immediate chaos. The fate of each soul enveloped in that moonlit garden converged into a singular truth that transcended them all: fear begets fear, and love, however strained, remains the ultimate calling. With a resolve born from divine purpose, he approached his betrayer with a steady gaze. "Judas," he uttered softly, but the word resonated loudly like a bell tolling across the ages. "Betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss?" A haunting silence fell over the scene. The kiss, a gesture intended to connect, had twisted into an instrument of betrayal. But was there something more at play? In that moment, as Judas recoiled from the weight of his actions, Jesus felt not anger but an overwhelming sadness, an ache for a brother lost to darkness. Could love ever triumph over such betrayal? The disciples stirred, awakening from their stupor, confusion etched across their faces. Peter, ever impulsive, lunged toward the nearest soldier, sword raised high, yet what was he truly aiming to protect? Was it the man he called master or the fragile facade of their hopes? In the fervor of the moment, he struck, but the ear of the soldier fell to the ground. Jesus, with a gesture of profound grace, healed the wounded man, his eyes brimming with mercy. He turned to those gathered, challenging their perception, "Am I leading a rebellion that you come at me with swords and staves? I am with you daily in the temple, and you stretched forth no hands against me." His words hung like a challenge, echoing through the night. It ignited the disciples' anxiety, a fleeting question darting through their minds: did they truly know who he was? The moment felt surreal, a mere precursor to something monumental. As the soldiers drew nearer, Jesus, resolute, moved further into his calling, into the depths of his fate, pulling the weight of the world upon him. In that charged atmosphere, the heart of the matter unfurled. He spoke of prophecy, of the ancient words that spoke of suffering and redemption, casting a shadow that stretched back through time to the halls of the prophets and the whispering winds of 1,000 hopes. Was it all foretold, each moment a thread in the grand tapestry of fate? As the confrontation inched closer to reality, the question arose: would those gathered, both friend and foe, remember a lesson found only in surrender? What could possibly emerge from the depths of this night, and beyond the darkness, what awaited? The truth shimmered just out of reach, challenging the very essence of belief, wrapped in mystery, waiting to be unveiled. Would their hearts be willing to perceive it? As the soldiers tightened their grip around Jesus, shadows loomed larger in the garden, creeping ever closer as though part of the very fabric of the night. The air was thick with tension, rippling with the weight of momentous choices. Every heartbeat was a reminder of the gravity of that singular momentous intersection of faith and fear. With the first traces of dawn still far from the horizon, the disciples were embroiled in an internal tempest, wrestling with the gnawing uncertainty of what lay ahead. Peter, shaken but resolute, faltered momentarily. He was driven by a profound yearning to protect, yet the sight of those rough hands hauling away the gentle teacher pierced through the veil of his resolve. What would he lose if he did not act? The thought surged within him, mingling with the dread of their imminent separation. But in the stillness that followed that first chaotic clash, a voice echoed distinctly in his heart, urging him to recall the miracles, each act of compassion that whispered a deeper truth of who Jesus truly was. Jesus, amid the tempest brewing around him, stood unwavering, a figure of divine strength amidst the turmoil. He gazed upon his captors, searching their eyes not for malice but for the glimmer of humanity buried beneath their armor of hostility. "This is your hour," he proclaimed, allowing the weight of his words to settle like a cloak upon the gathered multitude. Could they grasp the significance of that moment? Even in chains, he would be the author of profound truth, unwritten yet ever present in the hearts of those who sought him. As Judas moved into the fray, a silent battle raged within him. The familiar taste of betrayal mingled with a harrowing sense of loss. Was he merely a pawn in a greater design, or had he, through his choices, woven himself deeper into a narrative of anguish? A sudden pang of doubt pierced through his soul. How could the one he loved be so willingly handed over to darkness? Looking into the eyes of his fellow disciples, he felt the weight of accusation and clandestine sympathy blend into a living question that hung in the air. Was it too late for redemption? The soldiers marched onward, tension coiling tighter. A shiver ran down the spine of the garden, as though it recognized the significance of these events, bathed in shadows and candlelight. The embers of hope still glimmered beneath the ashes of fear. A question emerged, quietly probing: could there still be light to chase away the dark? As the procession moved toward the heart of Jerusalem, the disciples found themselves scattered like leaves in a tempest. Each was left to grapple with the truth of their own faith. Did they truly comprehend what it meant to follow? Each disciple's heart echoed a refrain: could they bear the burden of conviction in the face of looming despair? The path ahead twisted in ways concealed by secrecy and fear, cloaked in a mystery deeper than they had dared to consider before. As they faded into the shadows, murmurs of prophecy echoed in the quiet, unsettling yet enticing. The night felt alive with promise, each moment pregnant with anticipation. Yet a lingering question prevailed, hovering like morning mist, blurring the line between hope and despair. What truth awaited them beyond this night of betrayal, and could they dare to hope for a dawn that might illuminate what lay buried in the depths of their souls? The night pressed on, heavy with foreboding, as Jesus was led through the narrow streets of Jerusalem, the cold cobblestones slick with dew. Each footfall echoed a solemn cadence, a melody of confusion and sorrow that danced between the shadows amongst the watchful eyes of the city, oblivious to the momentous unfolding of events. Every brick of the ancient walls seemed to absorb the betrayal that coursed through the air, a tangible reminder that darkness can sometimes mask the profoundest truths. Meanwhile, Peter stumbled, grappling internally with the weight of his actions and words. In the hidden corners of his heart, fraught with turmoil, he sought the strength to stay true to his commitment, yet the chilling apprehension of separation felt like a gaping chasm. Was loyalty merely the absence of fear, or did it entail a deeper, irrevocable bond shaped through love and understanding? He paused, inhaling the cool night air, and allowed himself a moment of reflection. Would he recognize the depths of his faith when tested? Around the flickering flames of a distant fire, the other disciples huddled, their expressions reflecting the tumult within. John sat apart, a quiet observer, his heart torn as he anticipated the betrayal's aftermath. Could understanding blossom from the ashes of despair? He recalled moments shared in quiet intimacy, truths exchanged in whispers beneath starlit skies, caught up in the wonder of miracles performed with compassion. The memory of those moments stirred a flicker of hope within him. Battling the encroaching darkness, across the path, Judas remained shrouded in doubt, haunted by the choices that had brought him to this juncture. The coins jangled in his pocket, a weighty reminder of his treachery. Each moment he had spent with Jesus was now entangled with an unshakable sorrow, an urgent ache that gnawed at his conscience. In the shadows, he wrestled with the implications of his actions. Was his path divinely ordained, leading to a greater purpose, or was he merely a lost soul faltering under the weight of human ambition? The question hung heavy, a shroud that masked clarity. As they reached the serene courtyard of Caiaphas, high priest and guardian of sacred tradition, the air shifted, a thick blanket of foreboding wrapped around them, intensifying the encompassing mystery of the night. Jesus was brought to stand before those who held power, emblematic of the society that both feared and revered him. Would his teachings resonate through the heart of the establishment, or would they be lost in the cadence of rituals that overshadowed connection? The elders scrutinized him, attempting to pierce through the facade of his serene exterior to find the accusations lingering beneath. "I am the way, the truth, and the life," Jesus declared, his voice steady, cutting through the anxious murmurs that sought to silence him. The words reverberated around the courtyard, lingering in the hearts of those who listened. Did they understand? Could they realize that he, in his trial, was poised to redefine the very essence of faith and forgiveness? Murmurs of doubt mixed with defense, intertwining faith with judgment. Within the hearts of the disciples, a collective stirring arose, queries blossoming like seeds in the darkness. As Caiaphas and his council challenged their beliefs, the shadows deepened, yet somewhere within the turmoil lay a promise of understanding yet to be uncovered. In that moment, a new question emerged, unbounded by resolution: what unseen truths might surface amid the conflict between tradition and revelation? Were they prepared to embrace the radical love that lay at the heart of Jesus' message, even in the midst of judgment? The night remained pregnant with the possibility of revelation, cloaked in the enigma of what would unfold in the days to come. As the weight of night refused to lift, the courtyard held its breath. The tension was palpable, hanging in the air like fragrant incense meant to honor the divine. The faces turned toward Jesus, some filled with fear, others with contempt, captured a tumult of emotions as old as creation itself. Yet, in the midst of the throng, a glimmer of resolve shone from deep within Jesus' gaze, illuminating the darkened hearts that sought to confine him. The elders and scribes fumbled with their ancient texts, both a library of wisdom and a source of chains. Each scroll they unfurled whispered remnants of the law and tradition, a language of control that sought to fortify their stance against the one who challenged it. "Are you the Messiah?" one individual pressed, voice trembling with the threat of both hope and despair. Jesus paused, the silence enveloping him like a cloak before he spoke, "You say that I am." His reply hung in the air, incomprehensible yet profound, rousing a new wave of dissent among those who felt their authority contested. In their hearts, he sowed seeds of doubt about the validity of their own beliefs, summoning into question the foundations upon which their power rested. In a private corner of the crowd, Peter stood transfixed by the interplay. His heart beat with the rhythm of uncertainty, each pulse a reminder of his earlier promises. The firelight flickered, throwing shadows across his Phaeacian image of devotion teetering on the edge of fear. Was he prepared to witness the unraveling of the very fabric of faith that gave him life? He turned towards John, seeking solace in the companionship that had always navigated the storms of their shared journey. Yet John's eyes were distant, caught in thoughts that spoke of a deeper connection to what was happening before them. Meanwhile, Judas felt the heavy burden of the changeable tides that twisted his spirit. Watching Jesus confront the council, he might have glimpsed the man he once called master becoming something greater, a figure of radical compassion even amidst the venomous charges lodged against him. Was it too late to unravel the path he had chosen? The coins in his pocket weighed down not just his shirt, but his very soul. Did betrayal sprinkle the lines of destiny, or was he forever confined to the role he had chosen? The answer eluded him like a receding shadow in the dawn. Caiaphas, sensing the growing unrest and internal conflict, took it upon himself to lead the charge. "We have heard blasphemies," he shouted, his voice slicing through the air, meant to rally support from those who felt their own beliefs threatened. But Jesus silenced him with a gaze that seemed to probe through flesh and into the spirit, challenging everyone present to reconcile their understanding of divinity. "What you see as blasphemy," Jesus stated softly, "is merely the reflection of a truth long buried beneath fear." The weight of his words magnified amidst the flickering flames, evoking echoes of prophecies yet unconceived. The struggle to grasp his meaning spread among the assembled, some infuriated, others intrigued, a few perhaps even moved towards an awakening. From the corner, a voice of a faithful disciple broke the oppressive silence. "But how can one who claims to be the Son of God, be condemned by men? Is it not written that the Lord would usher forth the truth and save his people?" The question rang with a somber resonance, shaking the confidence of those who clung to the power of their roles as arbiters of the divine. What if their understanding had been warped by the very towers built around their faith? In that moment, they were left grappling with the precarious balance between ancient law and a promise that morphed into life. Yet as the discourse spiraled deeper into conviction and accusation, a notion struck: was love indeed capable of subverting the reign of judgment, even here in this sacred ground turned battlefield? As they deliberated amidst the shadows of uncertainty, a collective inquiry hung in the air: could acceptance and radical love truly emerge from the chaos that enveloped them, turning the course of humanity towards forgiveness rather than condemnation? The possibilities loomed vast, shrouded in the mystery of a larger purpose yet to be revealed. As the muted murmurs and fervent whispers danced in the air like trembling leaves, the night dragged on, revealing the characters' most intimate struggles. Jesus remained central, his composure unfaltering despite the tempest swirling beyond. The tension radiated from him, pulling every observer into a web of uncertainty, yet those who truly beheld him began to squint into the dim light and find within it a profound reckoning. The tension escalated as more voices were stirred to action. An elder stepped forward, leaning heavily upon his staff as if its weight could lend him strength amid his faltering resolve. "You present mystery where there should be clarity," he accused. "The law is unyielding, Jesus, it offers no room for ambiguity. Are you indeed who you claim to be, or merely a perilous misleader?" Jesus met his gaze, unwavering. "What is the law, if not a crutch for the fearful? I do not come to abolish it but to fulfill it. Unveil what lies hidden and point you towards something greater than the mere words etched in stone." The crowd stirred, caught between the gravitational pull of tradition and the magnetic force of revelation. The stones of the temple itself seemed to tremble under the weight of such a declaration, as hearts began to re-evaluate the very purpose of their adherence to law and tradition. Gripped by a profound unease, some turned away, unable to confront what lay hidden in the shadows of their faith. Peter, still anchored at the threshold of belief, felt an overwhelming urge to defend Jesus against this encroachment of darkness but was paralyzed by the fear of repercussions. Did loyalty to a truth mean risking everything? He sought John once more, eyes reflecting the conflict raging within, and found him transfixed, captivated by the unfolding drama as though he were gazing into the abyss of deeper understanding. That a sudden thought pierced Peter's turmoil. What if allegiance to Jesus meant rejecting everything I believed? He sensed the ripples of doubt cascading into waves of thought that threatened to drown him. Meanwhile, Judas, amidst the flickering chaos, weighed the alternatives that lay before him. Every whispered promise of wealth and power felt as distant as a dream. He had sacrificed not just his standing but his identity for the sake of treasure. Perhaps the coins were a shallow reward for the depth of what he was giving up. Was there space still for a redemption that could vindicate a mistaken path? Or was he too far entrenched in the landscape of betrayal? Caiaphas' questions echoed in the chambers of his mind. Blasphemer, he had called Jesus, yet was there more to the man than title? Doubt began to creep into Judas, and he caught the eyes of devious men laying in wait, greed written in their glares. A battle between illusion and faith raged within him, yet the promise of the coin was tangible, fueling his treachery. Enough. Caiaphas' authoritative voice thundered, silencing a growing tide of discontent. We will not idle while our faith crumbles before this rabbi. What further evidence do we need? He disrupts our harmony, perhaps. Jesus interjected softly, my presence is an invitation to upheaval for your comfort. You cling to what you know, yet fear the unknown on the horizon. Was it not said that the heavens are yours, yet you remain shackled? His words resonated like distant thunder, and the flames flickered in tacit agreement, illuminating faces caught between fear and revelation. The atmosphere thickened, tension straining, as murmurings swirled around the crowd. Who are we to challenge the divine will of God? Some whispered, grasping for their faith at the cusp of doubt. Others remained steadfast, determined to uphold their interpretation of righteousness. Yet among the tumult, a glimmer of hope flickered through. What if the chaos was merely a precursor to a profound awakening? The messy web of accusation and uncertainty revealed cracks in the dogma that had long confined them. As the dawn's first light began to creep into the edges of the sky, shadows seemed to begin retreating. Peter's heart quickened as he pondered a vital question lingering like smoke in the cool morning air. What would it mean for the future of faith if true freedom emerged through our willingness to embrace the uncomfortable truths that Jesus offered? Could the path to the divine be littered with both sacrifice and radical love, entangled in a search for something beyond mere adherence? As the light of dawn painted the sky with hues of gold and soft pink, the air crackled with a sense of palpable expectation. The crowd had not dispersed, rather, they stood rooted, each member caught in a tumultuous sea of thought, their hearts a battleground of faith and doubt. The threads of confusion and revelation intertwined impossibly, drawing more questions than answers from Jesus' provocative words. Jesus, radiating a quiet authority, gazed across the faces before him, each reflecting a different shade of uncertainty. Truth unexamined is but a dim reflection of the light, he declared, his voice steady despite the hurried pulse of apprehension that ran through the assembly. What if I told you that the very law you cling to is not the destination, but merely a guide? Might it lead you to a vast landscape of freedom and grace, rather than confining you within walls built by human hands? The observations hung in the air, vibrating with the weight of undiscovered reality. Was the law truly a guide, or had it become a prison for those too afraid to step outside its bounds? Questions echoed among the gathered, turning earnest whispers into hesitant conversations. Peter, emboldened by the dawning light, thought again of what it meant to follow the man standing before them. What if embracing Jesus meant unclenching his fists from the things he once considered ultimate? Was it so that Jesus came to awaken them from a slumber, encouraging them to step beyond the traditions that held them captive? The notion began to weave its way through his mind, prompting a silent plea for clarity in his heart. What lies beyond the horizon of certainty? In the murmur of speculation among the crowd, a voice emerged that cut through the haze. Mary of Magdala. With a poise that belied the societal scorn she was often met with, she stepped forward, her eyes aflame with determination. But if we accept this invitation to seek the unknown, where might it lead us? Are we not risking everything to embark on a path with no promise of safety? Her articulate question ignited a whirlwind of thought, reverberating through the assembly. Jesus turned to her, his expression warm yet solemn. Yes, Mary, the path may hold the specter of doubt, but it is also where faith blossoms. How often do we clutch to our fears, missing the grace that lies just beyond? In letting go, you may find that the ultimate promise is not one of safety, but of deeper authenticity, a relationship with the divine that surpasses mere adherence. In this exchange, Peter noticed a crack form in Judas' carefully constructed facade. The man's eyes darted between the faces of his comrades as though seeking a place to belong amidst the fissures of his treachery. Was it not the very longing for acceptance that started him down a slippery slope? The fragile equilibrium within him trembled. Was he prepared to embrace the disconcerting truth surrounding his choices? Even as the promises of his past echoed in the whispers of deceit, a spark flickered within. Could his betrayal be unlearned? Caiaphas, not one to be easily swayed, felt his authority challenged. This discussion leads us astray. The law binds us, it protects our way of life. To delve into ambiguity is to invite chaos. He waved a dismissive hand, but in that motion, he revealed a fear that gnawed at him, the potential collapse of their world as they knew it. Yet within the crowd, a new surge of energy began to rise, emboldening once muted voices. What if chaos is where we find true order? One voice called. What if love calls us to be brave enough to explore the vast unknown? Another chimed in. As these voices melded into a chorus of questioning, Jesus looked upon them, sensing the dawning realization their struggle was no mere battle over law or chaos but an awakening to something larger than themselves. The sun now fully ascended, casting a golden light over the scene, illuminating the faces still ensconced in doubts and fears. A transformative moment unfolded before them, but whether they would embrace it or recoil back into the safety of certainty remained unresolved. As the gathered wrestled with this profound moment, Peter's heart swelled. What if the question of faith was not about abiding by strict rules but about living in a manner that reflected divine love? Yet untangling what that truly meant was a journey fraught with peril. What would it take for the hearts caught in this web of fear to awaken courage, to step collectively into an ambiguous unknown that promised liberation? Would they dock their boats amidst the tempest and choose to sail? The echoes of this pivotal moment danced in Peter's heart, a delicate reminder that sometimes, clarity emerges only after we dare to embrace the storm. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the gathered crowd, the tension in the air thickened with unspoken apprehension. Hope and fear mingled like travelers crossing paths, each seeking a glimpse of what lay ahead. Peter's thoughts were a whirlwind, stirred by Jesus' teachings and Mary's daring questions. It seemed as though the very fabric of their existence was being questioned, unraveling at the seams. Jesus, sensing the weight of renewed curiosity and hesitation, invited them to listen closely. Each of you carries within you a flame that yearns to be kindled. The journey ahead may challenge your very understanding of faith, but what if, by embracing the unknown, you not only discovered the depth of my love but also the truth of your own souls? His words echoed like a distant bell, resonating with those eager for enlightenment. In that quiet intensity, a woman approached, her face partially obscured by a veil, but her presence was strong and commanding. Master, she began, her voice steady yet filled with vulnerability, what if our search for freedom leads us only to further bondage? There are those who have walked these paths before us, speaking of revelation, yet ending with despair. How do we ascertain truth from illusion? Jesus regarded her with compassion, his eyes soft yet piercing with wisdom. The search for truth is often laden with trials, for it is a treasure hidden beneath layers of fear and doubt. Each of you must embark on this journey, understanding that clarity does not always manifest as comfort. It comes through wrestling with your doubts, embracing the questions, and confronting the shadows within you. Do you not see? The act of seeking is a profound expression of faith. This declaration ignited a myriad of discussions in the crowd. Some spoke of the weight of their traditions, while others recounted personal struggles that had left them feeling distant from the divine. Judas stood apart, his heart racing as the truth of his inner turmoil wrestled against the teachings he could not ignore. Doubt and betrayal coiled around him tightly, suffocating the flicker of grace that still fought to emerge. As the sun blazed overhead, the temperature rose, both physically and spiritually. The crowd felt their senses heightened, as though the air itself carried the weight of unspoken revelations. Caiaphas, determined to steer the conversation back to what he found comforting, called out, "Do we speak of faith, or are we rending the fabric of our very beliefs? Should we not guard against heresy, lest we be led astray?" Mary, undeterred by Caiaphas' challenge, replied with fierce passion, "Yet what if our rigid adherence to doctrine has suffocated our spirit? What if the divine call for love is louder than the narratives we cling to? Isn't it time we embrace simplicity and allow our hearts to be guided by compassion?" Their voices intertwined like threads in a tapestry, weaving a narrative rich with questioning. Jesus watched them intently, his heart swelling with a mixture of pride and sorrow for the complexity of their humanity. Just then, a child's laughter rang out beyond the crowd's perimeter, a sound so pure it broke through the heaviness of their exchange. "Children," Jesus said, turning to the noise, "they understand the world with eyes unclouded by fear. They embrace wonder without hesitation. What if, in that simplicity, there is a fundamental truth that we've long overlooked? To enter the kingdom of heaven, we must become like these little ones, open and unafraid." The laughter lingered in the air, a reminder of innocence beckoning them closer to a raw understanding of faith. Inspirational murmurs filled the space, yet confusion still lingered in the hearts of many. Judas found himself caught between the dream he had once pursued and the treachery that now defined him. Could the innocence of the child he heard awaken something profound within him, a desire to be unshackled from his choices? The crowd began to ponder the essence of connection, the shared challenge of their beliefs, and the collective longing for a deeper relationship with the divine. And in that space, where courage brushed shoulders with doubt, the future remained a vast and uncertain sea, open for them to explore. What new understandings might they glean from stepping boldly into the expansive unknown that lay before them? Would the laughter of a child guide them toward a faith that flourished in vulnerability and love, or would fear still ensnare them in chains forged by their own uncertainty? As the shadows began to lengthen and the sun dipped toward the horizon, a palpable change swept through the crowd. The tension that had simmered throughout the day began to settle into a contemplative hush. Each person seemed lost in their own reflections, wrestling with the questions that had surfaced, the mystery of faith intertwining with the everyday struggles of life. Jesus, sensing the moment, gestured for silence once more. "Many of you seek clarity, yet clarity is but a reflection of our deepest longings. Each question you carry reveals a facet of your soul. What if I tell you that the truth you seek may not take the form you expect? What if, in seeking the answers, you find yourselves instead?" His voice, calm yet compelling, wrapped around the crowd like a soothing balm. Amid this sea of introspection, a man stepped forward, weary lines etched across his face. "Rabbi, what then is the purpose of the law if it serves merely as a mirror reflecting our flaws? Are we to abandon what has long guided us, or can it serve as a stepping stone toward a greater truth?" Jesus regarded him with deep understanding. "The law is indeed a guide, but not the destination. It shows you the way, but it is love that fuels the journey. Each one of you stands at the crossroads of rules and relationship, and I urge you to choose the latter. A relationship with the divine is dynamic, alive, and powerful. It calls you beyond the confines of judgment into the expansiveness of grace." As Jesus spoke, the woman who had first approached him with her vulnerability raised her voice once more, "And what of the broken-hearted among us? How do we reconcile love with the pain we bear? Is it not easier to hide behind the law than to confront the wounds that threaten to divide us?" Her question hung heavy in the air, resonating with unvoiced struggles. Jesus' gaze softened as he responded. "Ah, but therein lies the paradox of love. To love is to embrace vulnerability. Your wounds are not a mark of failure but an avenue for connection. In sharing your pain, you deepen your understanding of one another and draw closer to the heart of God. Are you willing to see your scars as pathways to healing, rather than reminders of defeat?" The crowd shifted, animated by this revelation. The sound of shuffled feet and murmurs filled the space. In that moment it was as if a veil had lifted slightly, revealing glimmers of understanding through the doubts that once shrouded their hearts. Yet Judas remained frozen in his doubts, now a spectator to his own turmoil. The weight of betrayal loomed larger than ever, and his soul recoiled at the thought of exposure, both to the crowd and to himself. Caiaphas, not ready to relinquish his authority, seized the moment to challenge further. Is it wise then to suggest that the pain we bear can be used for our greater good? Should we not instead focus on the purity of the law, lest we unravel into chaos? The truth must be safeguarded, Mary countered with renewed conviction, but what if in tightening our grip on the law, we suffocate the very essence of faith itself? What if the chaos you fear is merely the flowering of something new? Look around you, each heart beats with the desire for connection, for understanding, for love. Why do we not welcome the tumult of growth? The tension between them grew, not just as individuals but as representatives of belief itself. They stood at a crossroads where the clashing narratives of tradition and revelation battled for their souls. Jesus interjected gently but firmly, "The answers you seek dwell within the depths of your willingness to confront your hearts. Trust that, even in uncertainty, you are held by something greater." As the sun finally dipped beneath the horizon, the first stars began to twinkle against the vast canvas of the sky, a reminder of light emerging from darkness. A hush enveloped the crowd, as they pondered the depths of their discussions, the illumination of their questions, and the mysteries that still lingered unlabeled. What truths might still remain hidden in the depths of their struggles? Could the collision of pain and love ultimately lead them closer to a profound understanding of the divine, or would reluctance to navigate their complexities bind them tighter in chains of their own making? In the early hours of morning, as the first rays of sunlight began to pierce the darkness, the atmosphere hung heavy with anticipation. The scattered disciples who had huddled in fear through the night were slowly gathering again, drawn by an unseen thread that connected their hearts to the man they had followed for so long. The air, once thick with doubt, now crackled with an intriguing promise, the promise of revelation, of a transcendent truth that could reshape their understanding of faith. Jesus stood at the center of the vulnerable congregation, a quiet strength radiating from him. He felt their apprehensions, their burdens, and the heavy weight of their unasked questions. With a heart overflowing with compassion, he turned to them, his voice a gentle balm amidst their inner tumult. "This moment," he began, "is a sacred invitation. You stand at the threshold of understanding, a space where your doubts may transform into faith, where your fear may yield to love." As he spoke, the first rays of sunlight streamed over the horizon, golden light breaking through the remnants of night. The darkness receded, revealing a colorful mosaic of humanity gathered before him, a tapestry woven from diverse threads of pain, hope, and longing for belonging. Peter, emboldened by this display of light, stepped forward, his heart brimming with yearning. "Master, what must we do to embrace this truth you offer? How do we step beyond our fears and into the light?" Jesus met Peter's gaze with deep understanding. "To embrace the truth, you must first unearth the fears that keep you shackled. Let the light reveal your wounds, share your struggles with one another, and you shall witness the transformative power of love." A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. From the outskirts emerged Mary of Magdala, her resolve stronger than the chains of judgment that once bound her. "Lord, I have buried my past in shame. Can our scars really become the seeds of healing?" Jesus' expression softened, his eyes reflecting understanding as clear as the dawn above them. "Your scars are reminders that love is forged in suffering, that healing is a journey marked by vulnerability. When you allow your pain to meld with the truth of your story, you give birth to hope. Hope that resonates in the hearts of others, illuminating the path for those lost in despair." The crowd began to stir, a palpable energy replacing the weight of uncertainty. They exchanged glances, silently acknowledging the power of their shared humanity, their collective stories intertwining into a narrative richer than they had known. Judas lingered in the shadows, grappling with the tumult raging within him. Could he too embrace the light that was beginning to dawn even in his heart? As if sensing his turmoil, Jesus turned towards him with compassion rather than condemnation. "Judas, my dear friend, the path you tread is neither sealed nor unwritten. You are not beyond redemption. Within your heart lies a choice that can turn your betrayal into a testament of grace." In that moment, The weight of coins that had once clinked proudly in Judas' pocket felt heavy, wrapping around him like a shroud. He looked into Jesus' eyes, and for the first time, saw not a figure to be betrayed, but a man willing to risk everything for truth, love woven through the very fabric of the cosmos. Tears brimmed in his eyes, self-loathing mingling with an inkling of hope. "Master," Judas whispered, "is there truly a way back? Can I find what I have lost?" Jesus stepped forward, engulfing him in the embrace of grace. "My friend, that which you seek is found in the very act of returning. Love offers the greatest truth. Reconciliation is always possible when we choose forgiveness over fear." Suddenly, the heavens roared with the applause of the divine, a grand revelation echoing through the skies. A blinding light enveloped the garden, illuminating not just the path ahead but the depths of their collective souls. In one breathtaking moment, the weary disciples understood the message entwined within the threads. Of their fears the truth is never buried beneath darkness, rather, it glimmers like stars, waiting to be illuminated by faith. "Will you walk with me?" Jesus invited, his voice resonating with authenticity, beckoning them into a dance of unity and transformation. "Let love be your compass, and together, we shall shatter the chains that bind." The disciples, now anchored in hope, nodded in unison, a vow etched upon their hearts. The dawn became a metaphor, marking the end of their night of doubt and the beginning of a luminous journey defined by grace and understanding. From the shadows, Judas took a hesitant step forward, banishing the lingering remnants of betrayal. The light that enveloped them embraced even him, a transformative power that reached into the darkest recesses, igniting the flicker of compassion. In that sacred garden, as the golden sun began to ascend triumphantly, they shed their identities as mere followers and became a living testament to a profound truth: love transcends barriers, breaks through fear, and redefines existence. Thus they emerged into the new day not just as disciples of a man called Jesus, but as vessels of a story woven together in vulnerability and truth. Each heartbeat now echoed a single note in the symphony of the divine, a reminder that no matter how deep the darkness, it is love that ultimately illuminates the way forward. And so, on that glorious dawn, the world witnessed a revelation that would echo throughout the ages: the enduring power of hope, the choice of redemption, and the indomitable truth that love, in all its mystery, remains the greatest miracle of all.